Hello, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time you are joining us. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so once again, welcome to the Elite Book Readers Club. And today is another fantastic book review session. I hope you're super excited as I heard. And we'll be reviewing a very, very interesting book titled You Owe You, right? But before I go into that, let me use this opportunity to introduce you to the Elite Book Readers Club in case you're a first timer in our midst. So, if you're a first timer, I would like you to put in the chat that this is your first time joining us. If you're a member of the Elite Book Readers Club, we would like you to indicate where you're joining us from, your name, or obviously if you can see your name if you're using LinkedIn or YouTube, but we'd like to know where you're listening to the session from, whether Nigeria, Ghana, United States, any part of the United States, United Kingdom, any part of the world. We would like to know that. Okay, and yeah, so let me just introduce the club to you again for our first timers. So the Elite Book Readers Club is, as I usually say, is a club not for book lovers, but for those who consider book as a tool towards personal development or career advancement, right? And our vision is to redefine human potential through literature. We do this by sculpting a future where human potentials knows no bound, empower young minds to shatter the barriers of conventional thinking, and guide them on a transformative journey of self-evolution. You know, pushing the envelope of creativity, impact, and visionary leadership. So we really want to, expound your potentials through the books that you read. We hope that you would, break the barriers of conventional thinking that you may have, and then possibly engage in some interesting visionary leadership work. I mean, which is part of the things we have been seeing so far. Like current by January 31st, 2025, will be 3 years running. And I can tell you for a fact that within those 3 years, or 2 years and some months, we've seen remarkable growth in our members, in what they've achieved, in how they've evolved, in the things they handle, uh, in different aspects of their lives, whether it is finance, emotional intelligence, or it is relationship, or even the academics. Like it's been a very great journey so far, so good. And if you're not yet here with us on this train, I would like you to join the moving train, right? You don't want to miss this. Okay. So once again, the themes we focus on in this club are personal growth and development, financial planning and management, and relationship building and emotional intelligence, right? So we consider those three as pillars for capacity development. Yeah, there's a spiritual component, but we felt that you can get that from your religious institution, right? Be it church, be it mosque, or be it whatever you practice, right? So, but for now, we focus on those three main pillars. Okay, so um, I'm not here alone. I have Joshua here. I have David. I have Rukevwe. I have Miracle, who will be joining me on this fantastic book review session. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so
okay, I got some background
I got some
echo.
background.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So yeah. So in
So
case you're doing this for the
yeah.
first time again, like what we do whenever we're reviewing a book is that
So
we read the publisher
just when
summary,
we're reviewing a
we
book is
read
that we read the publisher
a bit
summary,
about
we read
the author himself
a
and
bit about
some other things before
the
we
author
deep dive
himself
into the book.
and some other
So
things
for the
before we
publisher
deep dive
summary,
into the book.
I took
So for
this
the publisher
from
summary,
Goodreads.
I
That's the
took this
source.
from
So
Goodreads. That's the source.
yeah, this book is a New
So
York Times
yeah,
bestseller.
this book is a New York Times
I mean,
bestseller.
yeah, the best. It's a New York Times
Yeah,
best-selling book for some
it's a New York
time,
Times
and
best-selling
still
book
to
for some
today, if I'm not
time,
mistaken. So,
and still
yeah,
if I'm not
Eric did a
mistaken.
very
So
great job on this
yeah,
book. Yeah, so
Eric
let me
did a
just go
very
straight to
great
the
job on
publisher
this book.
summary.
Yeah, so let me
Yeah,
just go
Eric
straight to the
Thomas
publisher summary.
moves,
Yeah, Eric Thomas moves,
inspires, encourages, and
inspires,
challenges people
encourages, and challenges
to
people
reach their full
to reach their
potential.
full
The
potential.
OU is flat out brilliant, and it ain't lied yet. Okay, and it ain't lied yet. Yeah. So that was written by Dion Sanders, the coach of Prime. Yeah, Coach Prime. No matter your story or your struggle, Eric Thomas celebrated a motivational guru, educator, and problem solver to many of the top athletes and business leaders, will help you work harder, discover your real motivation, and crack the code of enduring success. I love that word. That was by Ed Milet, the number one best-selling author of the book, The Power of One More. If you feel like success is for others, that only certain people get to have their dreams fulfilled, Eric Thomas's book, You Owe You, is your wake-up call. His urgent message to stop waiting for inspiration to strike and take control of your life is one he wishes someone had given him when he was a teenager, lost, homeless, failing in school, and dealing with the challenges of being a young black man in America. Thomas's secret of success have already helped hundreds of hundreds of thousands on their journey, but this is his first guide to show you how to start today, right now. These critical first steps include deeply understanding yourself and the world around you, finding your why, accepting that you may have to give up something good for something great, and constantly stretching towards your potential. No matter where you are on your journey towards greatness, you owe it to yourself to become fully, authentically you. And Eric Thomas's book, You Owe You, can help you get there. Yeah, I agree with every content said about this particular book. Yeah, it's it's a fantastic book. It helps you on your journey towards greatness, and truly, you owe it to yourself to become your authentic self. Okay, so let's switch the page to the bio about Eric. So it's Eric Thomas. I know him as E.T. Like, I mean, I've been listening to E.T. Since 2019. Yeah. Every morning I would go to have my bath while playing ET's motivational content, maybe the girl talk or different, there are different versions of ET motivational content out there, and it's really, really inspiring. And I'm super glad to be talking about this book also. Yeah, so okay, yeah, ET or Eric Thomas is a PhD holder. Yeah, he's an educator, best-selling author, motivational guru, and international business phenomenon. Eric's unique brand of pragmatism continues to take the world by storm. It has made him the preferred go-to problem solver for many of the world's largest corporations, sport franchise, colleges, and universities. Through a thorough examination and application of these same principles, his conference attendees continue to maximize their success both in the office and at home. This trusted and proven approach to sustain personal and professional growth and success has made his firm, Eric Thomas and Associates LLC, one of the most highly sought after consulting agencies globally. Eric Thomas is a father, husband, philanthropist, Also, E.T. I know him as E.T. the hip hop preacher, as it's known in the wide world or in the wider world, aims to improve the lives of others through self empowerment, self assessment, and consistent execution. So that's a bit about E.T. So the chapters in the books, we have the forward by Chris Paul, introduction, you have the only one who can change your life. We have chapter one, talking about it is you versus you, how you can become the CEO of your life. You're never in it by yourself. That's chapter two. Chapter three, discover your superpower. Chapter four, what's your why? Chapter five, work in your purpose. Chapter six, put yourself in miracle territory. I really love this chapter of the book. Chapter seven, become a triple threat. Chapter 8, sacrifice good for great. Chapter 9, your business. Yeah, that I love that part too. Yeah, it changed my concept entirely about life. Chapter 10, you owe you, nobody owes you anything, but you owe yourself everything. Okay, yeah, we're getting ready for the moment. Okay, so I've done so much of the talking. Now I will like to ask my fellow reviewers, what did you feel about reading this book? Please don't go yet into the full details. Like we'll start. I mean, after this preliminary introduction, we'll go deeper into the book. But just give me a feeling of how you felt when you read the book. I just sure can go ahead.
Okay, Peter, thank you very much. You know, I, I, I felt this book came at the right time, personally for me, because the month of October was kind of a mixed feeling for me, like moment of happiness, moment of sadness, moment of grief, personal grief, and having this book and seeing the title got me like fully into it. And I can say truly, E.T. Is a motivational speaker, and I see his book, this topic you speaking to me even in the month of October, and I'm happy to be among the reviewers for this particular book. That's how I feel.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad like you found this book very helpful, especially during the. I mean, you explained your situation in October now. Same here, like it came at a very right time for me. Like I, like we were discussing earlier before the session started. Like I've been experiencing some kind of difficult moment, not really difficult from the term difficult, but difficult in the sense that you know, I'm a PhD student, so sometimes your research go the way you want them to go, and sometimes they don't. So I'm like on the latter part where it's not like, oh, what's happening? Like, but it's been interesting, like to take the challenges. Like, sometimes you have to tell yourself, oh, I know where I'm coming from. Um, I cannot, I cannot settle for less. I cannot settle for mediocrity. I have to put in the work. Every night I remind myself, hey, Peter, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. Couple with the fact that you have eat his book, like you're reading eat his book, and you know that yeah, this guy is something else. So I need to do something else also. Yeah, so I think it came in at a very crucial moment in my life. Also, yeah, I agree with you. I think
Thank you very much.
for our rest book reviewers, they're having like some technical glitch. Yeah, but I think we can just continue from now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no problem.
So let me even check from the comment section to know how people feel about reading this book. So please drop in the comments how you felt reading this book. Let me check LinkedIn. What do we have on LinkedIn? Okay. Yeah, so in the comment section, please can you drop what your feeling was like when you read this book? I'm trying to see if I'm not missing any chats. Oh, okay. Do we have a comment from Brima? So, Brima, how do you feel reading this book? Let me be sure I'm not missing any information. Okay. Uh, yeah. Okay. While we anticipate others to drop their comments, we can just proceed. Okay. Yeah. So let's dive into the book because of time. This is like 20 minutes past. Because we have a lot to cover, and I don't want to dull the moment right now. Yeah. So Joshua.
Yeah, I'm with you, Peter.
Yeah. So let's start with us with the you know in whenever we're reviewing a book, we have different segments. We have the discussion, and then we have the controversial part. So let's start with the
Yeah.
discussion part. And for the discussion part, let's talk about owning your journey. That's the first one. Um, the three questions I would like us to discuss in relation to the book is how does embracing responsibility shift the narrative from the term life happens to me to I control my life. That's number one. Okay, let's start with that first, and then we'll move gradually. So, what do you think about the term life happens to me? I think people use that a lot, like, oh, life happens to me. Like even when they're in a bad, let's say in a negative scenario, like okay, life happens to me. But whenever they're in a good territory, nobody says. I don't think people say life happens to me. They're always like, I
Definitely.
know
Exactly. Nobody wants to see life happens to me when everything is going good. You know, uh, shifting responsibility from the narration of life happens to me to I control my life. I think we humans naturally we tend to want to shift the blame. We tend to want to shift ourselves into the victimhood, which I love what Eric E.T. Okay, permit me to be using E.T., which is Eric Thomas,
yeah, I love,
started
I
with
love that.
when he started.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the way he started the book. How he was in the zone of life happened to me, and not I control my life. And if you and you read early, you see that it took us through a journey of migrating from the notion, from the idea, from the perspective of life happened to me, and migrating into I control my life. That is what I see the book You Owe You trying to
Yeah.
preach to us, trying to say to us. That is the gospel I was saying in this particular book.
Yeah.
Because everybody tends to want to play the victim. You know,
Mhm.
while reading this book, it took me back to while I was in our institution, and uh, there's this saying: whenever you see your results or your test score, and maybe your colleague or your friends are asking you, what did you score? Let's say maybe the result was very bad. You'll be hearing, they
They
gave me
gave me,
E,
yeah,
they
they
gave
gave
me
me a
F.
B.
But if the result was good, you'll be hearing, oh, I scored. I had A. I had distinction. You know, that's the notion of life happens to me. Oh, they gave me E. But we don't want to own up to failures. Nobody wants to own up to discouragement, to downtime, and
Hmm.
it shouldn't be. So I see it trying to take us through a journey of you need to learn to hold
Hmm.
control of your life, and
Mhm.
this is one perspective we need to get into place. We need to get into order that we control our life, no matter, irrespective of whatever perspective, whatever happenings might have happened to you. You know, I mentioned it, I said this book came at the right time for me because,
Mhm.
okay, let me just maybe I just give a glimpse of what happened to me in this November. So I did a professional course. I've been doing a professional course with self. I found myself in the insurance sector. So I started a professional course when I joined the company I'm working for currently since 2022. And part of my long course, because it's a three-stage course, exams, series of exams that I have to do. We have the foundation, the intermediate, and the associate stage. So part of my long goal term was that I want to finish this, everything concerning. And in October, I sat for my final set of exams. I was to write 4 papers. And out of the 4 papers, when the results came out, first week of November, and I checked the results, I checked it. I was kind of down, like the victimhood wanted to enter, but I just had to. I don't know. When I started reading this book, I see it talking to me that Joshua, you need to take control of your life. It is not over. Yes, you've set a goal for yourself. You did not make it. That doesn't mean you should let it go. And you know the funny thing, immediately I dust my textbook, I pick it up and I said, this course, I'm owning it next year. So that's why I said this book came at the right time. It came at the right moment. So I saw it telling me that don't stay in the zone of life happens to you. I should not
Yeah,
stay in the zone of life happens to me. I need to take control of every moment, of every seconds, of every minute. So it's just a fantastic one, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just
I agree with you. Let me just add to that. Um, there's this current, I don't know if it's a trend, but most times we are very quick to say the word, hey, I have a very poor background. My parents were very poor. I this with this. Whenever people want to talk about their success or stuff like that, which is good, right? Which is really, really good. Like talking about their background. That's if you're trying to show um, like a story. You're trying to tell a story of how you navigated from rag to riches, or from prison to palace, as some people say. Uh, but at the same time, on the flip side, if you look at it, your children will also say something. So you have to also think, what will your children also say when they are on that part of the spectrum? And so I agree with you. For example, why did I bring up the issue of background? Now you see people say, the reason why I'm not successful, the reason why I'm not this is because of where I came from, my family. Like
definitely.
I could relate with it because I know my background. And Joshua, you know my background. David, you know my background also. Um, I can still recall some of those visions I had, like the dreams I had when I was as little as my secondary school, my high school, like college years. I know what my parents were doing. And I'm like, oh God, I really want to. I can't say because of this is where I am. This is my family background. That means that I would have to stay there. So I have to take that bold move to commit to personal development. I mean, I remember vividly in my JSS one, that's middle school. For those that are not familiar with the Nigerian educational system, I I realized that my only way out of trenches, my only way out of poverty was education. Like I came to that reality that, oh Peter, like the only way you can get out of poverty is education. So then I took control of my life. I remember those nights when my mom would be like, "Oh, Peter, go and sleep. Like you have to sleep. Like why?" I mean, then I was attending a government school, so typically you're expected at that age to just attend classes and go back home. Let's say from 8 to 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or let's say 4 o'clock, depending on the category of you are in school. But my mom enrolled me early to a private lesson, a private tutoring center, and I would go there from morning. I mean, I'll go to school morning till afternoon. From afternoon, I go to this tutoring center. Then from tutoring center, come back late at night, do my regular house chores, then study overnight, do my own works, and now prepare for class the following day. And I remember in one of those conversations I heard then, my mom was like, Peter, take a rest. I was like, Mom, don't worry, it will pay off later in future. And now I can see it. So I'm just trying to tell you, like, I mean, somebody else could have like, and I'm sure that's most of, I mean, that's the story for most of us here. Like we could have settled for what life presented to us. Rather, we decided to take the bull by the horn, or to take the horn by the bull, rather, um, and take control of our life, which is really good. Like, I mean, Ite could have said, "My father abandoned me, they lied to me," just like the way he was dwelling in that past. You know, he left home, he abandoned family, he started living on his own, despite the fact that he had family that he could take care of him. But he felt betrayed. He felt so many things. He felt like everybody lied to him. Life has really happened to him, and he was living a miserable life. Not until he decided to switch the pendulum, to or switch the switch, to I control my life. Yeah, David, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you have a background noise.
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually in a function currently. I just had to step out. But can you hear me? Is my
Yeah,
voice that loud enough for you to hear?
yeah, we can.
Okay, I think before now, the network was actually playing some games with me, but I think it's getting better now. And I came in when you were reading the just doing the introductory part for our session tonight. And I think Joshua Ariyo has actually started well in terms of talking about, I think we're talking about the first subject, life happening to us, and the other part of the spectrum of saying that I take control of life, right? I think that is what we are on currently.
Yeah,
Okay, I salute Arius Joshua's contribution to that particular subject matter. And yes, life happens to us. We face so many experiences. We have so many, we had, or we face so many circumstances in life. I know. Even before I talk about that subject, E.T. Eric Thomas actually did justice to the book. I must confess, that is actually a one book that is so beautifully crafted, and I like the idea that he started the book talking about his own personal experiences. He was able to use his own personal stories. Can you still hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so he was able to use his own personal stories. Him starting from that aspect, he was able to connect to his readers. I don't know about any other person, but me myself, I was able to connect more to the book beyond the theoretical or the wordy part, theoretical aspect of the book, just the writing part. So the stories were able to make me connect it better. It's personal experiences. So writing you by him, Thomas. So talking about life happening to someone and you saying you take control. I must first of all state that so many persons face so many things in life. They have so many stories to tell about what happened to them, circumstances that they face, so many experiences that they had. Maybe they lose one of their family members, maybe they lose their baby, maybe they were born in a family as you were recounting about your own life journey. Maybe they were born in a family that was not well to do. So many people will have so many stories to tell about their own personal family and maybe their own upbringing, maybe what life dealt with them. But what I want to talk about in the aspect of we not saying you take control of your life, I must state that it's not that easy as we frame it, or as we picture it, that people can just move suddenly from that state of life happening to them to that you take control of your life. It's actually a subject matter of will, and so many persons have faced so many situations in their life that the strength of their will have been weakened. They don't really have that will to stand up and say that I can take control of my life. Yeah, let's say for example now someone being born in a family that is not well to do, and life dealing with that person, series of encounters with poverty, struggle and lack and all experiences like that. Some persons don't really have that strength of will to say that I can let me take control of my life. Do you get what I'm trying to explain?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, so that strength of will is not really there. So, and that is where exposure comes in. Exposure in the terms of the books they read, exposure in terms of their environment. I can tell you for a fact, I don't really, to a certain extent, I know a bit of your story, but I can tell you, if you concur, that 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 strength, that ability to say that you want to take control of your life might have actually at least 80% came from the fact that you exposed yourself to several books that opened your mind to the world of diverse possibilities, that you can actually become better than what is happening to you currently. So books, I believe, actually helped your journey. um Exposure, association actually helped your journey, helped that to give strength to that will to say that I can take control of my life. So what I'm trying to paint is that situations that people face can be so strong to beat down the strength of their will, to beat down their will, to make their will to become so weakened that they feel this is the climax of what I can ever become in life, until they now expose themselves to the world of reading books that create that possibilities in their mind. They expose themselves to associations that show them that it's actually possible for you to change your life, to take control of your life. They expose
Yeah.
themselves to environments that create that possibility in their mind. So shifting from the aspect of life happened to me to I can take control of my life is a subject matter of your mindset. And that mindset is being sharpened, is being shifted. Mindset shift is being orchestrated by the books you read, environment, association. That's just one thing I want to point out, because it's not that possible. It's not that easy as we think for someone to move from life happened to me to I can take control of my life. For it now,
Yeah.
I bet you that one of the you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to really interject with what you just said, like add to what you just said now. I agree with you on like you so on so many things you've mentioned, like top notch. And let me really talk about the environment part. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, on Thursday, that was 2 days ago. I was speaking with I was having a conversation with my mentee, with one of my mentees, and I was talking about so many things. Then I talked a little bit about what you just said as environmental proof. Like you are in an environment, but you've created a wall or like a coverage to make you not sink into that environment. That's if you're in an environment that shows pessimism rather than optimism towards your future, right? And that's where book has come very handy. Let's say, for example, you are in a situation where life can happen to you, or life has already happened to you. Let's say, for instance, you came. you have a very, very, very poor background, or maybe the economy of the country, or wherever you are, or let's say, uh, maybe your parents divorced, um, or let's say that you have a you lost your family at a very young age, or whatever the situation may be. Like, let's paint it the worst case scenarios, right? And so at that moment, what the environment projects you is a mindset that begs for pessimism. It's a mindset that begs for mediocrity. It's a mindset that begs for succumbing to the evil circumstances of life, right? And like, it just shows you that, oh, give up, bro, give up, girl. Like, why should you push? Right? Look at your dad, look at your mom. I mean, they had their chance. There's a part of the Bible that says times and chance happen to them all, right? So you could just like, okay, I mean, like, look at you, look at your brother, look at your sister, look at your neighbor, look at your pastor, look at your bishop, look at your imam, look at people around you. And maybe all you see is just people who are just trying to survive. All you see is just people who are just trying to make ends meet, even from their little labor, and you're like, oh God, what can I do with this? Or for example, maybe you have friends, a lot of friends who have finished from university, let's say even with first class or a second class upper, and or maybe lower, whatever category, like, what's the worth of education? There's this popular saying, school now scam, right? Because of the things they have seen around them. And but if you decide to now create an environmental proof through the books you read, right, then you begin to see yourself taking control of your life because of the books you're reading, or not just the books, the association you're not trying to keep. So environmental proof can come just like the way you have said, through um, reading books or through the kind of association you have. At the end, they strengthen your will to control your life. So I really agree with that. I'm just trying to retrieve what you just said. Miracle, do you want to say something quickly before we switch? Because we have so many to cover today. Hi, Miracle. Hello. Okay.
You can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, David. Yeah. Okay, you can go ahead if you want to say something. I think Miracle is having some issues with that from my end. Or Joshua, do you want to? Okay. So let's just switch to the next question. Are personal benchmarks critical in driving change and achieving goals? Eric talked so much about having some personal benchmarks. He wants to move from. I mean, there were so many areas of his journey during the time he was still in Detroit. He talked about some of his personal benchmarks he wanted. When he was called to preach, he practiced his speech so much so that he could give like a very top-notch speech, which worked out. Like, that's like a personal benchmark. Even when he transited to Alabama, was it Alabama? Yeah, to Owensville. Yeah, I think it was Alabama or Oklahoma. No, Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma. I'll confirm. And then before moving to Michigan, all those different milestones for him. So, what do you think about personal benchmarks? And in addition to that, also talk about how can one learn to use failures as opportunities for growth rather than excuses to give up. Yeah, Joshua, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Though I'm still trying to wrap my head around what you mean by personal benchmark. Let me
Personal
just
benchmark says like goals, like personal standards, like setting standards for yourself.
okay. Well, I feel is necessary in every phase of our life. Personally, in every phase of a man's life, you need to have benchmark. You need to have your goals, your vision, because those are the driving force. Those are the things that will help you to focus. In physics, there's something you can sector. I guess the scalar is when you don't have a direction. Why vector
Yeah.
is something that has direction, if I'm correct. So same also
Yeah.
applies
Sure.
to life. You need to have a direction. So you need to set benchmark for yourself. You can't be the jack of all. Though now there's a saying that be the jack of all, master of one. But even in the jack of all, you are still master of one. So it means you are still setting a benchmark for yourself indirectly. Then for the second one, how can one learn to use failures as opportunity for growth rather than excuses to give up? Okay, one thing as human we understand is that one way or the other, failure is bound to happen. So is how we see that failure that now matters more. David said earlier, will of the individual is what to now determine. Is it that maybe that particular stuff, sometimes it can happen that uh, you already have like what I mentioned earlier, using myself as an example. I've been doing a particular professional course for I guess 2 years counting now, and I have a goal. So there's this drive force within me that it should be done this year, but lo and behold, failure setting. So I also tune into what David said, the strength of the will. Though at some point it looks as though my will was down, but reading ET book and also looking at what I've surrounded myself with, because environment matters. Those you surround yourself also matters. Look at his journey. Despite the fact that one thing I noticed about his journey was that despite the fact that ET ran away from home, he never stayed far away from home. I don't know if you get that line.
Yeah, I
He
get it.
ran
I
away
get it.
from home, but he never far away. So some parts within him wanted to come back home. But some parts was, I can say, maybe was just egocentric.
Yeah, yeah.
What would it coming back home? Me that someone like me that left home and the likes. So it all depends on how you are viewing that failure. But as an individual, as a person, we need to learn to see every opportunity in our failure. Maybe I don't know whatever challenges might be. I don't know. Maybe it's one exam you've been doing, or one circumstances, you're a family man, or you have a project you've been having road. Just see it as a new opportunity that okay, the way you've done it is not the proper way. Taking is it Thomas Edison, uh, the father of electricity, work on bulb, electric bulb. Is it Thomas Edison?
Yeah,
I
yeah. It's just anything there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
of them used to have
people
Thomas.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yes, look at Thomas Edison. He
talk
was trying to
him.
do an electric bulb and he failed for so many times. But in his one of his quotes, he said, I did not fail. I only saw 99 ways through which this particular project will not work. So I feel it depends on how you are viewing that failure. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you've achieved, but you need to be able to pick your strength, pick your will, and channel, repurpose yourself. Sit down. Okay, what I used to do for myself, what I used to tell myself is whenever maybe I meet a roadblock, I first sit down. Is there anything I've done wrong? I try to learn from my past mistake and work towards becoming a better version or achieving a better project for myself. So that's just it for me. That's what I can say
I,
on it.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's like failures are part of the inevitable, the
set what
non-negotiables,
failure.
right? But it depends on how we switch them for our good. Either it can be a setup for another success, or it could be a setup for further failure, right? Miracle, I think you want to say something. But we're having some network glitch from your end. Can you speak now? Let me know if you can hear us and we can hear you.
Get
Miracle? Okay, your line keeps breaking as if I think the network is just terrible. And I really love to hear your fantastic reviews as well. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. Okay. Yeah. So just like we're saying, yeah, failures are really part of the equation,
You can hear.
and the way we handle failure depend, like
Can
if
you,
you take it from victimhood. Yeah, America, I can hear you, but your line is breaking.
can we hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay, do you want to share your point now? And you're in a noisy place. Okay. David, do you want to speak now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, wonderfully placed, Joshua. I think we're talking about second part and the third part, talking about benchmarks, personal benchmarks and failures. So I'll just touch on both subject matter briefly, as Joshua have actually explained a lot about them. So, personal benchmarks, critical in driving change and achieving goals. Uh, they are so I will take this from two different perspectives. They said that okay, there is a dream, there is a goal you want to achieve, but in the achievement of that goals of those goals, there is need for you to have plans. The way I see that benchmark, talking about milestones, talking about what I need to achieve, what I need to meet for me to say that for it to be possible for me to achieve the set goals that I've enacted for myself. So if I reach, for example, now you're saying you want to lose weight. So what should be my benchmark? My benchmark should be something like trying to wrap my head around that example. That means I have to do some certain rounds, some certain numbers of rounds per week or per hour for me to be able to achieve my goal. Do you get what I'm trying to explain? So it's
Yeah,
more like saying there are certain you cut down those goals into plans. That is where I'm
yeah,
going. So the goals is the broader aspect of the whole concept. Why the plans are basically the benchmarks that you need to meet for it to be easy for you to achieve those goals. So I see those personal benchmarks as the plans you enact, those smaller steps, those actionable steps you need to meet and to satisfy for you to be able to achieve those goals. That is the first perspective. Second perspective is now talking about the why. I know ET talked about the why of what you are doing.
yeah.
When you have your why, when
Yeah,
you
let's
have
check.
your why, it's actually a fuel
Mhm.
motivating you to achieve that purpose. So there is one aspect in achieving.
Oh, I lost David.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think how I hope Nigeria accepts Starlink as the main supplier of internet access. Hey, guys,
Man.
yeah. Okay, we have David back.
Can you hear me? My line, the network took me
Yeah,
off.
I get it. I
Okay,
get
let
it.
me just wrap up. Let me just wrap up on my contribution. So one aspect talks about the plan, those steps you need to satisfy for you to be able to reach the broader goal where you are going.
Okay, so let me quickly pick on what David was saying. So I recently
too. And there's a
saw a
retrospect
movie.
which is talking about the
Okay,
when
yes.
plans when you do those rounds of couch every day for you to achieve that goal of losing weight. The why. Hello, can
Yeah, I
you
can
hear
hear you.
me?
Yes, we can, we can.
So on the failure aspect, and I'll be done just in 1 minute. I
No,
know
I
that
mean,
Joshua have
you
talked
can
about
switch
the
to
failure
the why. Let's
aspect,
discuss it.
and can you, you were talking about why?
Yeah, so we're already discussing the why. I mean, like, I mean, since you
I
started talking
think his
about why,
network is lagging.
oh, I see. Since we're already
So
discussing about why,
he's getting
so,
your own feedback late.
oh, I see. I see. I see. Okay. 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 Then we can go ahead,
Okay,
please. Please go ahead.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is not good. Okay, so
No, no.
let me continue from what David was talking about. Yeah, I recently saw a movie, the Great Debaters. I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's a very great movie, lovely movie. It's a Black American movie though. Um, Talked so much about the how Wiley College came to become the historical place for debates. How they won. They were the first black college to win the national debate competition, competing against Harvard. But where I want to get, I mean, the line I want to pick here is we do what we have to do in order to do what we want to do. I took that line from the movie. Let me say it again. We do what we have to do in order to do what we want to do. I think someone should jot that down. So that's the summary of the word setting a standard, right? We do what we have to do in order to do what we want to do. So what do you have to do? Maybe it's to go to class, maybe it's to achieve a particular goal. It's not going to be easy. But when you look at what do you want to do, what you want to do is that you want to be able to enjoy your life. You want to be able to provide for your family when they come. That's if you're still single, or if you are not single, I mean, provide for the family that you have now. You want to be able to, get to the highest, to the pinnacle of your success, like get to be at the upper echelon of life. You don't want to be at the lower cadre of life. So how do you get to that level if you don't set standards? And that makes me kind of reflect on my journey so far. um, I would say that setting standard has been my lever. It has been one of the things that has helped me so far in everything I've done, in what I've achieved so far in life. uh, as far back as high school phase, during my high school. Then I remember setting stand. I write my whatever grades I wanted to achieve for that semester. For that semester, no, I think we're using 10. Yeah, for that 10,
We
I'll
use
post it
them.
on my, yeah, 10. Yeah, I'll post it on the wall for everybody to see, not in my class at home. My parents will see it, like I will see it every morning. It was kind of ridiculous there, but anyway, I did it. I started doing that on my GSS one, and I would, I was so blessed to always get it, like I don't use the word first position, but then but then the goal was not to get first position, right? I remember. Let me go fast forward to my senior secondary school. That's SS1. That all called the high school. Maybe I don't know what the grade system is in America, but in Nigeria we call it senior secondary school one, level one. So then I said I wanted a 5 point. I wanted to have all A's in my grades, and I had 6 A's. I cannot forget. I had 6 A's and 4 B's. 4 B2, that's A1 and B2. Actually, that was like the best in the class then, and in the entire for my level. But I felt that was like the first term, my first term in that level. I was like, gosh, I didn't do well. Like, I was beating myself. I was like, Peter, because the goal was not, I was not trying to, I did tell myself then that, Peter, you're not competing with the student here. You're not competing with anybody here. I'm not trying to, like, I don't even know them before. I don't even know like, how good they are. I mean, everybody's blessed, like in terms of intellectual capacity. But I've always seen myself competing on the global stage. Like there's this vision that Peter, you're not competing with anybody in your country. Like you're competing with somebody else in the United States, United Kingdom, in France, in different parts of the world. So in my second semester, in my second term, I had um I had 8 A's and 2 B's. I was like, oh Peter, you still not do well. And that was like my friends were like, Peter, you're crazy. Then the third term I had all A's. Throughout my SS from that SS1 third term to my SS3, it was all A's, all A's, all A's. And people were like, then I shifted the bar to I was no longer looking at all A's, I was looking at 100. Like, why would I be having 90 when I can get 100? It was really crazy then. I remember crying my so usually at some point I started having maths to be 100 over 100 in my overall score. Then there was a particular semester term I had 95 over 100. I was like, geez, what happened? I cried that night. And people will be like, what was that? What's the drive? Why you kill yourself for like it's not like you took second position. I was like, no, you're not getting it. The problem is not trying to get the grades. Is the problem is to see how well I'm improving. How am I improving? Can I compete with my colleagues in the other part of the world? Because that's what I tell myself anytime I'm going, that there's somebody who is more exposed than me to different literatures, to different textbooks, and I will might meet on the stage one day. How do I compete? Right? So those high standards, and just like Eric said, he said if the goal was to get a degree, get the degree, increase it further, or to get his PhD, got the PhD. If the goal was to be the richest man, got like if the goal now, he said for now his goal is to win Nobel laureates, just was just like those Martin Luther King achieved, like to win a Nobel laureate for peace, for his influence. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's typical me. So I mean, imagine. I mean, I don't think I would be here if I had not been setting those high ridiculous goals, because I believe in those word that from those word of, I think it's Cicero. He said, aim your target ridiculously high, such that even if you fail, your failure will be above everyone's success. Yeah. Because even if you fail to achieve that target, that ridiculously high target, that failure is actually might even be better than people's success because it will be above people's success. So I agree with that. Yeah, Ariyo, do you want to say something? Joshua, do you want to say something about that? So let's talk about
Okay.
the why. Let's talk about the why and daily habits. I think I've talked a little bit about the daily habits I had, which I still continue to today. Like currently uh I a fellowship. I'm a fellowship recipient of a very I'm a recipient of a very prestigious fellowship. And before getting that fellowship, I wrote it down since last year, like setting all those. I know it was like ridiculously I go. I mean, to achieve it would be like shooting for the stars. But anyway, it worked, and yeah. So I agree with what Eric said also. Yeah, yeah. Just I can go ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay. Talking about the importance of discovering your why. You've mentioned it in part of what you said earlier. Uh, there's a need. I feel part of the things that can help an individual is when you know your why, when you have a why. Like the why is, what is the reason? Why am I doing this? Looking at what you said earlier, you have your reasons why you were targeting all his initially. Then later you shifted your reasons beyond just having all his to, okay, you want your reason for going for 100/100 is that you want, your why is that you should be able to match up with the global. So as every individual, we need to have our why for everything we are doing, for every goals, for every purpose we are chasing in life. If you don't have a why, you just see yourself, you chase it for a why, and you end up dropping it. And I feel it is when you know this your why that will help the strength of your will, which David mentioned earlier. You know, most people tend to give up with once failure comes in because they don't have their why. And because there's no why, the strength of that will can't resuscitate. Like there's no more strength to keep going. But when you have the why in you, it helps you to keep going even when there is failure. You see that failure as an
Yeah.
opportunity to go bigger. Look at your story. You had B's, 4 B's at first. Well, because you know your why, the next time you had 2 B's, and you keep growing gradually, gradually, and gradually. So, as every individual, as a person, we need to understand our why. And how can you ensure you have a daily habit and decision align with your bigger purpose? I don't know. Should I go ahead to talk about this too?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, how can you ensure your daily habit and decisions are aligned with your larger purpose? Okay, I saw someone posted here that you can plan your a plan can be those steps you need to apply to achieve your goals. So, daily habits from one of the books I've read, Atomic Habits, where you need to
Mhm.
start from small. It is those little habits, those little things that becomes bigger at the long run. So you once you know your why, you know the reason, you know the purpose why you're chasing this particular goal, this particular vision, then you set little habits that tallies that focus on that particular purpose. So sometimes we miss it in the sense that we want to start big. You can see someone like maybe go for one bigger habit, which shouldn't be. So you
Mm.
start with something you are already used to, something you are comfortable with. Then you move along the line, you progress along the line, and ensure that whatever habit you are creating for yourself tallies with the purpose, because the end result is what you want to achieve. So
Yeah.
your habit should tally with whatever daily habit you are creating for yourself, and decisions you are trying to make should align with the larger purpose you are looking at. So that's just my take on it, on the importance of discovering your why.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The why is as important as anything. You know, like in at every phase of one's life, the why is very important. Like there's this quote that says, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And is it Thomas Carlyle that said, a man without purpose is like a sheep without
Without
a rudder, right?
okay.
And it's a wave that goes everywhere, like it just keeps going anywhere, like no direction. Oh, today this is trending, you go with the trend. Like you can't even stand the test of time. And again, it's not just having a why, but having a strong why, because your why will be tested several times. But depending, I mean, based on the strength of that why, that will determine the strength of your will, like we have been explaining so far. Uh, so, for example, myself, my why has always been to die empty, like to die empty of potentials. Like I don't want to carry my potentials to the grave. I don't know how God is helping me on that, but I pray God keep helping me on that. So that helps. That is part of everything I do. Part of it's the volunteering activities that I've been doing, um, the Elite Recruiters Club, my PhD, the mentorships and stuff that I do, the way I approach things. So the goal is just to be excellent at anything I could find myself doing, although which is not really easy. But sometimes you have to now narrow the why at some point. Like, okay, let's focus on this. Like, okay, yeah. So that could be some people's why. And again, for me, I have like a standard I call prime. That's the word PRIME. P stands for proficiency. I stand for R stands for reliability. To be proficient, reliable, innovative, motivated, and excellent. That's what I say myself. Like I try to be proficient. I try to be reliable. Um, when people tell me that Peter, I want let's see at this time. Let's do this stuff. I try to be a man of my word, which is not really easy. Like sometimes I don't keep to it, but I try. I mean, I sometimes I do something not because of what the person said or what the person is expecting from me, but just because of that standard I've set, right? Sometimes I try to be innovative to how I approach things, and I try to always stay motivated, right? And excellent. So that's like part of the book or like a guiding principle to my why, like the daily habits guide for my why. For some people, that why could be I just want to make money, which is not bad, right? So if making money is just all your why, you can get the money anyhow, whether through entrepreneurship, through business, through anything. And look at, but let's face it, the people that have really made great change in humanity are people who have a very clear, strong why that is bigger than themselves. Like the likes of Steve Jobs, his why was let's change the world, let's change everything from the logo of Apple, the name of the company. Like who named their company Apple? Like people don't name their company Apple during that era. Like it was very radical to name your company Apple. To have a logo that is Apple logo, that logo was really radical on to different things that Apple product are stand for. The way they approach the phone industry, the iPad, the iPod, the different technologies. Look at the likes of Elon Musk. Look at, I mean, those are technology people. Also look at people, Warren Buffett. Look at I mean, different categories of people. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King. So, and the interesting part is, if you have a compelling why, then people will be willing to join you on that journey. Just like Eric Thomas explained in the book, he had a compelling why, and that's how I was able to meet with CJ, right? It was through his father connecting into,
Yes.
so I mean, like he went for an event and the event didn't occur. Normally, could have just gone home, right? But he went
Went,
back to the
he had two events.
yeah,
So he
exactly. Okay, yeah,
scrapped
yeah, yeah,
one. He scrapped one, then he went for the other one, but that one didn't occur. So instead of him going back home, he
yeah.
went for the one he scrapped. And
Yeah,
that was how he met CJ's father.
exactly. So you can see, like, if his why was just to make money, he would have gone to meet CJ's father. Like, I mean, he would have gone to that event and met with CJ's father because his why was just, I want to contribute to people. I want to sharpen my skills. So let me go there and just listen to what people are saying, right? And also, don't forget the part he talked about the lot of voluntary work he did at Michigan State before he had that breakthrough. You know that during that period, it was like the a black person coming to the white community, very white demographic school and white dominated school, and I mean, you don't really know the language to, I mean, the way to communicate, not like he can't communicate well, but there are different language. There's a way the Black Americans speak that's a bit different from the way whites speak, not in terms of the English in this case, but in terms of the culture, right? The culture is very, very different. I can tell you from experience. Um, but he never mind that. Oh, I have been doing a lot of great work while I was at I think was it Oklahoma or Alabama? I need to confirm. Yeah, but I mean, he has done a lot of great work there, where he was asked to speak by the governor at some point. But imagine taking all of that away and then moving to a new community where nobody knows you that much, nobody knows how great you are or the stuff you do, but yet you're ready to, commit to it, volunteer, be at the backstage, help them plan events when you should be at the front stage. You know, all those things can only be made possible if you have a very strong why. Because if you have a strong why, you won't see the all the glitters, you won't see all the goals and everything. You'll see you find fulfillment in just doing what you want to do. You find fulfillment in doing doing why you want to do what you want to do. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense anyway. So yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you on that. Like, yeah, it's very important to have a very, very strong why. So let's switch again to another part of the book. Um, Sacrificing good for great. And after that, we'll switch to the controversial part. Miss Rukevwe, can you speak now? I don't know if your network is very good to speak now. Is it? Okay. 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 The network is not really good today. So David, I think David, you want to add something to that? We are now discussing sacrificing good for great. Why is it difficult for people to leave a good enough situation for something better? And I think I started that discussion already, talking about how it left the place it was to where he had become the king, like the god of where he was, and left there to another place. Uh, yeah, I remember his wife was finding that kind of challenging. He had to, pray to God to convince his wife over that. And the reason is because we are really afraid of the. Uh, Sometimes we are afraid of
The unknown.
the unknown exactly. Afraid of the unknown. We don't know what can happen. We're like, okay, what if things go south? Like you are going to a white dominated environment? What if they don't like your message? What if, and so many what ifs, right? And that sometimes stops us from shooting for something better. So how can we sacrifice good for great? And I think Dr. Miles Morrow of Blessed Memory said in
Memory
one of the books
said in one of the
that
book,
one of the
one of the
greatest
great
uh, setback for failure for success is your or one of the greatest reason for failure or one of the catalysts for failure. I'm trying to recall the way you use the word. One of the catalysts for failure is your immediate success, your past success. It can be the reason why you failed next because you end up settling for, oh, I'm good. Yesterday I did this. This yesterday's glory. Yesterday. What happened to tomorrow? Yeah, you are good, but good can be better. Yes, you are better. Better can be best. So why is it that it is difficult for people to really leave a good enough situation for something better? And how can we focus on future greatness that outweighs the sacrifices made in the present? Yeah. Just so I can speak about that. I think others are having network issue. I don't want to go all
Oh,
the speak.
honestly, I would have
honestly,
loved
I
to
would
hear
have
that.
loved to hear that.
I would have loved to hear other people's opinion on this. Since I don't know, Nigerian network has decided to just mess up the section, but we'll still have to just go ahead. Okay,
Yeah.
why is it difficult for people to leave a good enough situation for something better? I think you've mentioned this while you were talking earlier. You know, everybody, every individual has this fear of the unknown. You know, what will happen if I leave my place of uh, livelihood? Like, what will happen if I do this, if I do that? You know, and it's something that even me myself, I can't explain it why it is like that. But just there's just this some part of human that we easily get complacent if we are not careful. We easily get complacent, like where I am, I think I'm okay. I think this place is okay. This place is good, and
Yeah. Setting
you just say
average.
time. Yeah, so ahead the average mindset easily sets in because oh, if you I'm doing better here, there's nothing happening. So why should I want to go for the unknown? And sometimes also look at if you look at the case of ET, which will link me to the second question: how can focusing on future greatness outweigh the sacrifice made in the present? If you look at the case of ET, if ET is why wasn't that so large, wasn't that so elaborate, the factors surrounding him might have made him to shelling back. What do I mean by shelling back? When his wife was not so comfortable with the new idea of moving to a new environment. And
Yeah.
in all honesty, if you read that particular storyline, it was an issue,
Mm-hmm.
but thank God understanding partner because when they moved to Michigan, for it seems for like a month or some weeks, they they had to put some of their belongings in their vehicle. They have to go and pick this, pick that from what's mentioned in the story. But if he was able to move, to sacrifice the present for the future because of his wife, so he knows what he wants. He knows his vision, his goal, which I feel is one of the things that can help or that is helping humans not to become a mediocre and not to become complacent with the
Yeah.
present,
Hunger.
the success. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be this drive, there has to be this hunger. And it's one of the things that I also try to do for myself. You know, for every goals I've set for myself, as I'm achieving them, or even when I see that I'm I'm almost at the completion stage of those goals, I ask myself, Joshua, what's the next thing? Joshua, what's the next? Like
Exactly.
I fine, you know, there's also this saying that at least enjoy your success, enjoy the milestone, but stay long.
Yeah. Don't stay too
That's the
long in
honest.
it. That's true.
If you stay too long in it, you might be like, I've tried. What else now? Joshua, you've tried. Stay in this for a while. Which, if you are not careful, you might end up like not wanting to even forge ahead again. So if he understood this, he understand that fine. Oh, I've been able to build ground in. I think it's Alabama. I don't know why you've been, because I've been trying to also go through it. There's no point where they mention Oklahoma. They were mentioning
Yeah. It's
Oakwood,
Alabama. Yeah. Because I know I've been
so it's
to. I
Alabama.
was yeah on Alabama recently.
Yeah. So look at that. I've gained ground in Alabama. What I want to go and do in Michigan, but he knew what he wanted. Mind you, he has done his college, but he wanted to do his PhD. If I'm correct,
Yeah.
that was why he moved to Michigan. So he
Yes.
saw the future that oh, I need this PhD. I've been teaching GEDs. I even wanted to ask, what's the meaning of GED? Because I was seeing GED, GED, GED.
So GD is like I'm trying to recall the full meaning, but it's what we call like adult lessons, like exams you take when like without going through the formal education system.
Education. Okay, I
Yeah, it's
suspected
like
that.
you not
So
go to like for
no,
example
he has been
it's
taking.
not like a night school. If you watch this movie Night
Oh,
School by Kevin Hart, you'll see the way it plays out. Yeah.
okay, I don't think I've watched that. So
Okay.
he has this purpose, he has this goal, this vision about himself and what he wants, and this was what helped him not to stay so much in the present, but to think about the future. And what are the
Mhm.
practical methods? What practical methods can individual use to discern between opportunities that are good versus great? This
Mhm.
this is a
That's
very technical one. Yeah, I think you need to give me time to think about this because opportunities that are good versus opportunities that are great. You know, I feel there's a thin line, and
yeah.
if one is not very careful, you might not know which opportunity is good and which opportunity is great. Because uh, just
So I have,
can you give me
let me
okay?
come in quickly into the this part. Yeah. I'll talk about what I use, the practical method I use for myself. Then you can talk about yours. For me, I have two should I call them indicators that I use. Number one is capacity capacity development. If that opportunity doesn't give me room for capacity development, which is my priority, I don't take it. Right. That's if I have options anyway. But if I have another option that does not that gives me a lot of the capacity development, but not really the finance, I will go for that one instead over the one I get. Let me give an example. I remember like during the COVID-19 period, uh, I had a very good, fantastic opportunity to, go fully into my graphic design, book publishing company. And at the same time, which is really a good thing, I had another offer to teach English language testing systems, all those English proficiency tests, like IELTS, TOEFL, and the likes. And that one wasn't really paying anything. It was more of like the money I've saved from the book publishing will be what I would use here, right? But I still went for that other one because I saw how it could develop my skills in different areas, in my writing skills, my communication skills, and the likes, and I went for it against the other one. The same thing. I remember when I finished when I was done with KPMG, and I was going to oil and gas, Dangote refinery then, and my friend was like, "Peter, you're not making the wrong decision by switching back to the oil industry. Like, why not just stay in the finance?" I'm like, "No, I'm not making a wrong decision. I know where I'm going to." I only went there to get an experience that I needed for my and that's even where the why comes into play, right? Because if your why is strong, you can really determine which opportunity is good. It might be great for others, but just good for you. Or it might just be good for others, but great for you in terms of the why, like where you consider yourself in the nearest future, or what you think your pathway or your path looks like. Yeah, so then I switched to the oil and gas, and I was like, okay, Peter, no problem. I mean, I knew what I was doing, right? And at the same time, I also switched for my PhD. I remember some people, like some of my family members, are like, are you sure you know what you're doing?" I was like, "No, I know what I'm doing." Right. Um, opportunities will always come. In fact, opportunities don't present themselves as opportunities. The great opportunities, let me be precise, don't really present themselves as the great opportunities. It's the good ones that usually present themselves as the good ones. For example, the great opportunities from volunteering can be the catapult for success. But how many people would want to volunteer when they have another job like facing them, all those kind of things? So, I mean, that's for me personally. Then the second metric I use is because I'm a spiritual person, I use the Holy Spirit as my metric. Yeah, to decide which one aligns with my purpose, with my vision, with what I see myself doing in the next 2 to 3, 5, 10 years, right? So that's my own personal metric. Josh, I don't know what about you?
Honestly, I feel you've spoken about those two metrics you give are the best practical approach one can use. You have to also consult the spirituality part. Uh, there's this saying, not all that glitters are gold. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to sit down and analyze. Uh, Just like I used to tell some of my friends, permit me to use the pidgin language here. Don't go from fry pan to fire. So you have to be able to sit down and analyze and ensure that you are not what you think is great is actually bad, might be bad at the long run. So just consult whatever metrics you feel you can align with your why. If it
Exactly.
aligns with your why, because I feel that's one of also the major metrics, apart from okay, going spiritual to know if it's something good. Does it align with your why? What is your why?
Mhm.
If with this accelerate you getting to your why, if it won't accelerate it, why leave the one you are doing currently that is aligned with your why? So these are the things, these are the metrics, practical approach I feel an individual can use. It has to align with your why and also be spiritual about it if you need be. We're in Africa. We need to be
Yeah.
spiritual.
Not really just Africa, is everywhere. I mean, every
Oh,
religion.
I've not been in that side, but I know in Africa, in Nigeria especially, we are over spiritual. And it's also affecting
But I don't think Africa is over spiritual because Africa doesn't even practice the highest number of religion.
Africa is not
Yeah,
what pardon?
does not practice the highest number of religion.
I know, but the ones we are practicing,
It's
or we
just,
take
it's
it to
just,
heart.
yeah, it's just like the way people put it like that. Like, hey, Africa is, yeah, it's because Africa is not great because there are too much religions. Whereas we are not even the region with the most religion.
Mm,
Yeah,
true. I agree to
that.
that. I agree to that, though.
So yeah, so I mean like yeah, everybody has their different metrics to do, but the bottom line here is that uh never settle for less. Average that I mean uh, uh, the average mindset is like a setup for failure. It's a very big setup for failure.
Mm,
You know,
true.
I was discussing with a friend of mine some weeks ago about my approach to relationship, how I approach my friendship. Like told him it might not sound like a very good one for some people, but for me, I try to keep in touch with my friends, old friends, like regardless of the age, no matter their level. But at the same time, um, I switch my the time I spend, right, depending on the category. For example, if my I do like a constant reevaluation, like let's say an annual reevaluation of my friend. In fact, I do it subconsciously nowadays. I can't really tell whether it's annual. So if I check the list of friends I have, the people that I can call friends, or the people I relate with often, and I see that I'm like the best. I'm much better than all of them. Not better in the sense of pride, but in the sense of like growth now. Uh, I try to maintain that friendship but shift the gear to another set of friends that are much better than me. Right. The reason is that if I'm in the midst of the friends that I feel better than in terms of some areas, there's this complacency that can come in and be like, after all, I'm doing better than the rest. Like, that kind of feeling like you are doing, instead of to
True.
push further, you are now comparing yourself with with your
There's
friends.
no hunger, there's no driving force.
Exactly. No hunger, no drive. Because in fact, in the presence of your friend, you are doing too much, right? Because
Yes.
you say you're doing too much, you're doing too much. But when you're now meeting people that that you're too much is so too little, then you realize that oh boy, I am not standing at all. Right? And you realize that yeah, there's so much more. I mean, that is strategy I use for myself also again. Um, I do it in different areas of my life, in terms of finance, in terms of academics, in terms of spiritual, because I mean, you can always, I see friendship as one of the greatest influence, or association as one of the greatest influence. So the people you associate yourself with really matter. So they influence you directly or indirectly, and you influence them directly or indirectly. So if you're on the spectrum where you're the only one influencing, there's every tendency that you get into that I have arrived mentality. Whereas you're just starting. There are so many people who have gone ahead of you, younger than you, who have done far better, right? So that's like a strategy I use for myself, not to maintain. Like currently at the level I am now, like I usually feel like I'm the dumbest, right? These guys are just something else. Like, I mean, in my the caliber of people I kind of keep now, um, whenever I'm talking about research, in terms of research now, I'm like, geez, what are these people reading? And then I go back home. I'm like, Peter, you need to open that book and finish it off. You need to read this. You need to read that. You need to read it. No, like there's this pressure to really read. Not I'm not reading it because of I want to pass an exam. I'm not reading because I want to achieve something. Or I'm reading because I want to be a better version of myself. That's why I chose those kind of friends, not just friends where I'll be speaking some English. In fact, I can maybe say some things about science, and they'll feel like, oh boy, this guy is so knowledgeable. Yes, I'm saying nonsense, or maybe I'm saying things that make sense anyway. But on the flip side, when you're with these other categories of friends and they start speaking, you'll be like, oh boy, I have a lot to learn. So that's like different ways. So let's switch again to um another part of our discussion segment, which is the controversial topics. So I'm sure there are some areas that some hot buttons in the book that some of us could have considered, and I want us to also consider it. The first one is victimhood versus structural inequality. For this part, some of us might not really get it. I've seen a lot of movies. Then while I was here in Nigeria, I really don't understand what it meant to be an African American. But coming over here, I've seen like it's a different thing. Like there's some structural inequality. Thankfully, things have really changed. And for me to appreciate what has changed, I take some time to see movies that were made to depict what have transpired in the 1970s during the slave trade, after the slave trade, before during the lynching period, after the lynching, like made me appreciate why I should, not just be black, but black excellence, like the way E.T. would say, the canvas for black excellence, right? Yeah, so there's this, the inequality set in different areas. Like we sometimes, I mean, how will I use the word? Uh, there's this, what's the word? Denominator. I'm trying to remember the word, but it's not coming anyway. But there's this trend that could occur from your background, right? If you're from a very studious family, like it's everybody in your family had a degree, there's a way your life will also be, right? Not like it will be better than every other person. That's not an excuse anyway. Um, but it will be different from somebody else who is like is the first person to, attend the university and the like. So yeah, there are different inequalities that comes in play, and most times we could take those things at face value and transform them to a place value in the sense that, yeah, the face value is yes, you're from a background that has experienced slavery, that has been underprivileged, that have been underrepresented, and then you say like, okay, that's me. That's not the place value. Now you're not putting yourself in that place, right? And that's where victimhood comes into play. Uh, so I love the fact that I've discussed it earlier. Like David also mentioned, like sometimes you need that strength of the will to really move beyond your background, to move beyond those inequalities that kind of society might have placed, right? And yeah. But it's very important that we, even as much as I can relate with some people who have explained that I can sympathize with them. It's important that we take control of our life. We do not allow our background to put our backs on the ground, like they usually say. Um, So yeah, so the question here is like, does the emphasis on personal responsibility downplay legitimate external obstacles like racism, poverty, inequality, single home, different things like economic background, so many things. So, for example, some people are really putting in times 10 efforts in some part of the world, maybe in Africa or in Nigeria to be precise, but because of the way the economy in Nigeria operates, right, they could not really flourish, they could not blossom in their business. So what happened to that? They are, you see that they're not doing enough. So I mean, those are part of the we should not lie to ourselves. So David, I think you're back. So what do you want to say? And David, okay. Um, Joshua, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, Peter, thank you very much. So, victimhood and structural inequality, the emphasis on personal responsibility. This is a very controversial topic, just as you've mentioned, and there are a lot of factors that are surrounding these things, like this racism, poverty, or even inequalities happening altogether. So sometimes it's not as though someone is not putting in the effort, but we can't say we can't say because of the circumstances surrounding you, you won't keep on putting the effort. You know, take the case of when I was reading the book, they mentioned Malcolm X, and
Yeah.
I was forced to do research on Malcolm X. That who is this Malcolm X they've been talking about? I feel his own time was even much more difficult
Hmm.
than the era of E.T. when E.T. was
Yeah.
growing up. And still, you see that he did not allow whatever was happening during his own era to downplay the effort, the personal putting in. That gave him a why to see that things changes. And though I've not been to US, I've not been to America, but from what you are saying, you said things has evolved, things has changed. So it's because some people did not allow their personal responsibility to go unknown. They took it upon themselves as a sacrifice to pay that things must change. And
Hmm.
I feel this, I want to channel it from that perspective that no matter what you might the circumstances that might have surround you, you just have to keep putting up that personal responsibility, putting up that your why, knowing that oh, a change will come. In Nigeria, currently now we are going through difficult time, difficult moments. You know, was it 3 days ago or yesterday? One of my classmates in school that is also working in a very known company. She was just putting on her status, like I was just going through it on her WhatsApp status, that it's kind of difficult now that even though you are making big money, still it's with what's happening, the inflation in the country and everything is not commensurating with it. Like the lady was just trying to make analogy of how she can like get these frivolous things, shoes, bags. You can walk up to a mall, get lot of things with the salary we're earning back then, but currently now you can't. Like even you'll be wondering, with this money I'm getting now, though companies have increased, there has been increment, lot of employees have cried for increment, and this has been done, but it's still not matching up. We will answer that because
Yeah.
of
True.
this, we will not do what we need to do. We still have to keep grinding. We still have to keep doing what we need to do, and also to the standing up to let the government know that things need to change. Things can't be the way it is like this. And that's just what I can say on that. That your personal responsibility is not being downplayed, in all honesty. It's just you need to channeling, keep focusing on what you are doing, irrespective of whatever circumstances you might be going through. Hoping and knowing that you are standing up for a change.
Yeah,
Then
I agree with you. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
sorry, Peter, can I
say some
share some point, share
Yeah, yeah,
some
go
thoughts
ahead.
on that? Okay, I'm very sorry for joining this late. Like, network has really done me bad this night. Okay, just to touch a little bit on the first one. Joshua actually did a brilliant job talking about the first point. So, what I just actually wanted to add to that first point, the subject matter concerning personal responsibility and legitimate external obstacles like racism, poverty, and inequality. So, as Joshua was giving his own contribution, what actually came to my spirit was that racism, poverty, inequality, they're actually societal phenomenon. They are the way it came was that those things are actually society's choices that they throw at you as someone who wants to make it in life, make it big in life. While your own personal responsibility, it's your own choice, your own decision, your own what you want to do. So poverty is what society's choice, society's decisions. Your personal responsibility is your own choice, is your own decision. So, and you can never make it big out of life if you allow society's choices, society's decisions to control your life. So that is actually just a little bit I want to add to that. I don't want to take too much time on that particular point.
I agree with you. You can never make big out of life if you allow societal pressure, society's decision of um, factors overweigh your personal responsibilities. I'll frame it in two ways: the extrinsic and the intrinsic, or the external and the internal factors. So I try to tell myself, Peter, focus on the internal factors. The external factors that are not within your control. There are two things I can do to them. Either I pray about them, or just leave them, leave those external factors while I focus on the internal one. Hopefully, the internal one can perhaps change the external outcome. So, so let me put it in plain language. Let's say you are applying for a job, like you need a job, like you want to go for an internship, or you just finished school, you're done with your undergrad, or maybe you're seeking for a new opportunity, right? The external factors could be like, oh, maybe there is no job out there. People are saying there are no jobs. People are saying there are no jobs, or it could be that, oh, they're expecting you to know somebody, to know somebody, to know somebody that cannot get you the job. Or maybe another external factor could be, maybe they expect you to play some games um, before you can get that job. So there are different kind of external factors. Or maybe the external factor could be like, maybe because you're from a very poor background, or from a very low uh, from the lower echelon of life, and to connect to those caliber of people can be like a top gun, or like as if you're shooting for the stars. Um, I mean, those there are different variations of external factors. Let me make it very relatable to my life. I recall then I told you from my recent talk that I had like a very big why when I was doing my undergrad. I said I want to have a firm. I want to have a startup. I want to be the startup at some point in my career. But I don't want to go into it because I've read so many books about people who started their own startups, and most times they fail. And I read another book that showed me a better side of building a startup. If you read this book, try to recall the name, the Nigerian people, the 50 Nigerian people built the startup. It's a book that even government, the NYC gave out at some point, but I've read that book before NYC gave it out anyway. Um, yes, so I knew that the better way I can have a very successful startup later in future is to first have a finance background, like understand what finance is, right? Then work with big conglomerates to see how they manage their organization and everything, to learn management and stuff like that before I now go into my stuff. And then my when I finished undergrad, I studied engineering, chemical engineering to be precise, and all I had in my mind was to do NYSC, like my internship in any of the big fours or the big threes, like whether it is KPMG or Ernst and Young, Deloitte, PwC, or the big threes. That's we only have the big three. We only have two of those big three in Nigeria. That's BCG and McKinsey and Company. So those were my top choice there. And people were like, Peter, what? I mean, I discussed it with some of my friends. Like, I mean, I don't discuss with everybody, but I have a kind of caliber of friends I can discuss that with because, like I told you, they have also been in the game and they understand some of this things better than myself. So when I told them, they're like, why do you want to go to this area? I was like, no, I want to get finance experience. But for somebody like me, for my background, from where I'm coming from, aside from what I studied, like I don't know anybody that can connect me to anybody. I don't know anybody anywhere. Like it was like a very ridiculous goal to achieve, right? But I never bothered too much about the external factors. I focused on the internal factors. What are the internal factors? Is that I needed to get experience in some finance stuff, and then I took a course on finance from India School of Business via Coursera. I took some finance kind of courses. I did virtual internship with on Forage with some comp with BCG. So many virtual internship on the Forage platform. I did a lot of finance related kind of stuff just because of that was my goal. Like I was focusing on what I could control, what I could do. And lo and behold, uh, my friend just like, oh Peter, I think you can reach out to this person via LinkedIn and she will connect you. Like the reason why I could remember to send me that message was because we had a conversation a long time ago about the kind of places I would like to do internship at, like do my NYC in. And that I mean, since then, so it's always good to talk about your goals sometimes to the kind of friends you have. Um, yeah, so I reached out to the person via LinkedIn, and she was like, "Oh, good, Peter, nice." Reach out to the HR. I reached out to the HR, and everything was via email. Blah, 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 blah. I got the job, KPMG. I was like, "Good, my goodness." Yeah, and I was this close to make McKinsey and Company. But what I'm trying to say is that I didn't really focus on the external stuff. I focused on what I could do. Interestingly, during that period, the CFO of another company reached out to me via LinkedIn, like because of I had those finance stuff on my page, and the guy was really insisting on me joining the company. They said that I will be even bargaining. He took the conversation from the HR and started we're having the direct talk because he wanted me to come over. But then I was like, in fact, they gave me an offer that a little bit beats KPMG offers, but I was like, no, KPMG will give me better room for capacity development than yours. Like, okay. But what I'm trying to say is that whenever I have those ridiculous goals, I try not to look at the external factor. I just focus on the internal. Then the external, I leave it to God, or I pray about it for to God to decide that. But when it comes to what Peter should do, Peter will do it. Um, so I agree with that. So sometimes when we are faced with structural inequalities, how we approach it really, really, really matters. So we're about wrapping up the entire section because we are 7 minutes away from timeout. So let's quickly rush through the last two controversial topics: forgiveness and that's the role of forgiveness in personal growth. In this case, we're talking about Eric Thomas talked about his mom lying or his family lying to him who his father was. He never knew until he heard it from the streets. Um, that kind of it took a plunge into his career, his life. But later on, after he married, he finally decided to forgive them. How does that affect personal growth? And people that have different kind of emotional another area I would like us to talk about is the grind culture, right? In as much as we are really talking about, grinding, pushing, and doing all those things, like let's also look within 2 minutes about does grind culture prioritize success over mental and physical well-being? You hear it always saying, I wake up 3 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 a.m. And you're like, oh boy, I used to I should not sleep. So the grind culture. So the question immediately it says at 3 a.m. The question I ask myself is, what time did you sleep? It matters. Whenever you say 3
Mm-hmm.
a.m., let us know the time you slept.
Exactly.
Because myself, I sleep 2 a.m. and I wake up 7. So if I tell someone I woke up 7 a.m., 7 a.m., I need to tell you the time I slept. I slept by 2 a.m. Most times I sleep 5 hours in the day. But I mean, for some people, for some people, 8 hours is really good. And I mean, I've learned over time that it's not really about uh how many hours you did not sleep. It's how many hours, how productive were you with the time you should be working, like the not sleeping time, like how productive were you? You're not trying to deprive yourself of the sleeping time. And it makes a lot of sense if you were so productive throughout the non sleeping time that you needed to take out of the sleeping time. But imagine you were not productive throughout the entire day, you did not do anything, you wasted your time the entire day. Then you now to show that you are grinding by not sleeping. So let us talk a little bit about that. Yeah, Joshua or David, anybody can go.
Okay. Thank you, Peter, on this. Well, health is wealth. That's the
Mm-hmm,
honest truth. And
mm-hmm.
I feel there was a time we read a book on by Dave Gatville, mindset.
Yeah,
Eighty
yeah.
percent, 80% mindset, 20% skill.
Still, yeah,
And part of the book, it talked about our health. What's the usefulness of grinding? And after you've grind at old age, all the money you've acquired, you are spending it on your health. So,
yeah,
uh, for us, there's a need for us to also understand our health, give our health the top priority, because all this grinding, yes, just like you mentioned, ET might be saying he's waking up 3 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 a.m. We don't know the time he sleeps. I feel the books, was he wasn't trying to focus more on health. It is a motivational speaker and is a
yeah.
renowned motivational speaker. And you is a book to motivate and every individual to move from the stage of victimhood down to a stage of owning yourself, taking control of your life. So he wasn't focusing on health, but it's also paramount for us to know that while we are owning up to our life, we also need to, there's another part we need to owe up to, which is our health. So it's me wrapping it up or saying that you also includes owing up to your health because our health is paramount and important. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I agree with you. That is very paramount.
Sorry, can I just
David,
chip in
David,
something?
I can hear you. Yeah, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that was fantastic, Joshua. So I think Joshua went to the divide of it's actually best for us to work smarter than harder. Well, I actually want to take it from the other perspective, whereby that is if we're talking about grinding in the aspect of putting in the work. Okay, I know that E.T. in the book was saying that he wakes up around 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. and trying to achieve a lot before he goes back to sleep in the night. But my own perspective, my own thinking about this particular point is that um, it is quantity over quality, because most times, even as individuals, we tend to want to be perfect in a particular effort. Can you see him?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I want to do something so perfectly well so that it can come out perfect. But I believe that there is a higher percentage of getting success to the degree at which you put in more of the work. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
The more you work, the more you show up, the quantity of the effort you put in to achieve a particular goal will actually tell to a greater effect in the general outcome at the end of the day. If you're not saying that you want to just focus on working smarter, you want to sleep early and wake up late because you are trying to prioritize your mental and what's it called, aspect and your physical well-being. You won't, to my own thinking, my own opinion, you won't be able to achieve a lot, as the case may be, especially those that have big dreams, big aspirations to meet in life. If you're trying to see that I wake up, you're prioritizing your mental and your physical well-being, you won't be able to achieve a lot, as the case may be. So, for me, my own personal opinion, I think the grinding culture is all about putting in the work, showing up every day, every time, showing up every day, every time, because you have the higher tendency of achieving a lot than somebody that is just trying to be cautious, trying to say that I don't want my mental health to be faulty or to deteriorate. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, I get it. Let me interject and push further on this because we are out of time now. Um, yeah, so my personal perspective about it is like everybody has a different season in life, right? There's a season called the sowing season, and there's a season called the resting to see the fruit of resting to allow your seed germinate, right? And then you have the harvesting season, which is like the typical way for most crop products that we see out there. The farmer goes out to sow the seed, tills the soil, which is very laborious, tills the soil and so many things. Then there's a period where this farmer is just resting, right? But it could be doing other things during that resting period, but not actively in the labor stage. Then there's the harvest where you start removing the fruits and then selling those stuff, right, and making some returns. So that's where I approach it. So for example, if during the sowing period the farmer decide to play mental, I'm trying to be keep mental, I'm trying to focus on my mental physical well-being, and it does not sow so many seed, it will not reap enough harvest. And at the same time, if the farmer just you know so many seeds such that even during the period it's supposed to be resting, is still sowing or doing other stuff like the ones you sow during the resting or the raining season, right? During the might not really germinate because the ground will wash it off, right? The nature itself would act against it. Then by the time the harvest comes, it might be too tired to even reap the harvest, right? Because it does not have the energy. So I believe there's a time where you go all in, you take a pill, you take a rest, and then you go all in again because that's the way life is. I recall if like before I get go to this stage of my life, I know the crazy um study life and work life I had. Like I remember then my colleagues usually call me workaholic. Like, I'll crash on my laptops. I was barely sleeping 4 to 5 hours. In fact, some days without sleep, all those stuff. Because then I knew that, that was like my swing time. Like the harvest was so close, right? So, like I learned from Confucius, or I don't know how it's pronounced, Confucius. Um, Self pity is one of the ways uh, to fail in life when you pity yourself too much. And at the same time, you must also be a balance of knowing when to rest. I think it's all about the wisdom of time, the wisdom of knowing yourself and knowing when to pursue something, when to rest, and when to refresh. Also, I think yeah. So the grind culture is a good one. At the same time, it must be handled with a lot of wisdom. Like you don't overwork yourself such that you are always breaking down, right? Because then I remember then in the university, I do tell my colleagues. Then I had like a university doctor. He's a student or is a doctor and a friend, so he does most time treats me or I'm always falling ill every 2 weeks or every month. Like I remember I would treat malaria for the entire year, like almost every month for an entire year. And I'd be like, and not that the malaria is called me from really malaria itself, from the plasmodium stuff, but from stress and other things. I was like, bro, there's nothing I can do. I can always take drugs to treat myself, but I cannot get this time back again. And yeah, that played out. At the same time, there are times where I take a lot of rest. So I feel yeah, it's good to have that balance. Yeah. So for I think that's what we just let's just conclude on that. I don't know if we have any final note. Do you have any final note where we are done? Yeah, we have to be done now. Okay, so let's wrap up. Yeah, so for our viewers out there, I believe you've learned a lot from the review of this book. There's so much we could talk about from this book, so much, so much. But at the same time, we cannot take all the time, right? So we have to wrap up the session now. I hope you've learned a lot from our speakers, from Joshua. You've learned a lot from David, from Rukevwe. We sadly we couldn't get feedbacks from Rukevwe and Miracle due to technical glitch. So if you are not yet a member of the Elite Book Readers Club and you want to be a member, you can check us on LinkedIn. And once you check LinkedIn, you'll see a sign up link on LinkedIn on our LinkedIn page, which will direct you on how to register to join the club. So from there, we can add you to our community. And I also want to let you know that we'll be having our book review challenge next year as TEBRC will be 3 years. So stay in tune for further information regarding that. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned a lot from the session. And don't forget, you owe you. Nobody will do it for you. You owe yourself to be great. You owe yourself to achieve those dreams. I'm telling you, your dreams are valid. Your dreams are valid. And surely they will definitely pay off. See you this time or next time next month. The same time next month. That's the last Saturday in the month of December. Where you're eating the Christmas chicken and the New Year, But we'll try to see how we go about that. Okay, bye. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye. Bye.